Hey there, crafty friends! It's Tina the Scrappin' Rabbit here for Not Too Shabby, and in today's video we're going to be using the December Stampin' Die of the Month, Better Together, to make a couple Valentine's Day cards. This set is still available and is available for a monthly subscription, or you can buy the stamp set on its own. Let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is stamp and emboss the image that I want to use on my cards today. I want to use this stitched heart die from my stash, and so I'm just kind of getting an idea of how I'm going to stamp the image and the sentiment. I end up changing my mind, but as I'm laying it out, I'm just arranging the sentiment and the image together so that it would cut out with the heart. First, I'm going to prep my paper using an anti-static powder tool. This is a new tool for me, and so I'm getting the hang of using it. I'm also going to use some VersaFine Black Onyx ink. I love this ink. This is my favorite ink. It does great with the impressions, and I love how crisp and clear the sentiments are. I'm going to use some clear embossing powder, cover up all the black lines thoroughly. I want to make sure that there's no ink exposed. Then I'm going to heat my heat tool up nice and hot and melt down that embossing powder. And I just love the way an embossed sentiment and image look. I'm going to color up this salt and pepper shaker using some Copic markers. Now when I color using the embossing, I do not color over the lines. I keep my marker tips within the lines, and so I never have any issues with my Copic markers. So I'm going in with the cool grays, the C3, the C1. I think I used the C2 as well, and I'm going to blend that out with my C00. I want that cap on the salt and pepper shaker to look like it's silver. I like to color my images twice, so this second coat of color really helps it pop and gives that nice transition from dark to light. Once I get the lids of the salt and pepper shakers colored, I'm going to go ahead and use the C1 to color the glass jars, and I'm going to blend that out with the B000, and then grab my C00 to blend that out again. Again, I'm going to go in for a second layer of color, and that's when it really starts to come to life. I love this sweet little image. I love those little kawaii faces, and I just think that the little sentiment just goes perfect with that. For the salt, I'm going to use some warm grays, the W0 and the W000, as well as the cool grays to blend that out. Then I'm adding just a little, some dots in there to make it look like little grains of salt. For the pepper, I'm using my T7, the T5, and the T3, and I'm adding little dots as well. I am going to grab the lighter shades of the tonal grays and really fill that area in as much as possible with little dots, trying to keep the center where the little eyes and mouth are as light as possible and filling it in around, adding some of the darker dots going around the bottom and top edges so that it looks like little speckles of pepper. Coloring in those cheeks now with the R81, and then filling in that heart using some of my Copic red markers and the pinks to help that transition. I also am going to add a second coat of color, doing the same colors, the 59, the 56, the 83, and the R81, and then just filling in the top with the gray and then the warm grays for the salt. I used my sparkle marker to add little dots to fill in the area, and it really made it look like little grains. It's so darn cute. I also filled in the little heart. So I colored up both salt and pepper shakers, and here's where I realized that I had the die for the sentiment. I'm not used to having dies that coordinate with the sentiment. So I'm pretty excited that I decided instead of cutting it out with the heart die, I just went ahead and used the dies. And then now I'm going to use some Bristol Smooth cardstock with my heart die and cut out 2 hearts and do some ink blending. I'm using the Victorian Velvet and the Spun Sugar, and I'm just going to add a little bit of color going dark to light from the bottom towards the top, just to give it a little bit of a background, a little splash of color to stand out so that it's not so white. So blending those on using my little mini distress inks, and there you have it. I'm going to splatter on my hearts using some silver glimmer mist, and I think that that adds just a little sparkle and gives that panel a little bit more interest. And now I'll set that aside to dry. I'm going to use some pattern papers. These are some Not Too Shabby brand papers from last year's Valentine's Day. I went ahead and pulled out some of the designs that I wanted to use along with this Lawn Fawn diagonal die, and I went ahead and cut them all out. I cut out a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panel to glue each of these layers on, and I'm going to mix it up, and I have enough die cuts to do 6 full backgrounds, but I'm only going to do 2 for today's video. Using some liquid glue, I'm going to go ahead and adhere each one of these layers, and I'm just using my fingers to guide me so that I have each of those layers glued flush to the side of the panel. I wasn't sure what to expect. This is the first time I'm using this die, and I wasn't sure how even each of these cuts would be by just hand gluing them, and I was surprised when it turned out perfect. I didn't have any issues with the cuts not lining up. I just used the edge of my fingers just to rub along the sides to make sure that nothing was sticking out farther than it should. And I'm using my bone folder to flatten the glue lines beneath each of the panels. So I just wanted to make sure that things were going to line up. So I decided to do that corner piece, lay that down, because I'm wondering if maybe I would have been better off going from the center to the outer edges. But then again, as I mentioned, I didn't have any issues lining these up at all. And when you're gluing under the camera, you're trying to not get your head over it. So my second panel came together much easier because I was directly above it. And this one I was doing from the side. But I love the way that it looked with all these patterns and these lovely colors, just so perfect for Valentine's Day. And that is the last little corner piece that I'm adding, and then I have one background done. So I went ahead and did the same exact thing with the other layer, and then I have both of my backgrounds finished and my little hearts are dry. So now all I got to do is glue my stamped images down. So I'm going to use the liquid glue to adhere those as well, both of the sentiments. And again, that sentiment die, I think it looks fantastic, and then you can do the ink blending underneath and it just turns out perfectly. I created 2 top folding A2 size card bases, and I'm just going to use the liquid glue to get those glued down, and then using one of my stamp blocks, I'm going to go ahead and set that on top to help it dry flat. The liquid glue helps to get things on there permanently, and then I have a little bit of that wiggle room, and I do like to press down with my bone folder to make sure that the glue dries flat. I'm going to pop up both of these hearts using some double-sided adhesive foam tape to give it a little bit of dimension. I like to give good coverage so that nothing gets flattened if it's in the mail. I'm going to go ahead and pull off the backs of that tape and then adhere them to the fronts of my card, and that pretty much completes the design. Just to add a few embellishments, I have some doodlebug hearts to add going around the sentiment, and I think that my cards turned out so super cute. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. This is the Not Too Shabby December stamp and die of the month. Again, the stamp is available for purchase on its own. The links are in the description box below. I hope you liked my cards. Thanks again for stopping by. I hope you like this video, and I hope you guys have a very, very happy new year. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye for now.